Hello everyone. Hello everyone. I hope you're having a nice day so far and the hack is going great. Today we have the chance to receive Thomas
Hello.
from Starknet ID. Um, I saw many people as well building and using Starknet ID for this hackathon. There's lots of things to do. Hello, Xafrain. Yeah, you are using XID, Starknet ID. Uh, and I hope that this workshop will help you a lot. Um, so yeah, I will give you the stage now to Thomas and enjoy the workshop.
Thank you, Edward. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. Window. Okay. Up. Here we go. Um, is it okay, Edward? Can everyone see the diaporama?
Yes, everyone can see the diaporama.
Perfect. So let's start with an introduction to what is Starknet ID and what we are trying to build. Because well, maybe you've heard of it, maybe you've seen the Stark domain, but we are not just doing this. Uh, Actually, we started a few months ago. I think that will be soon 1 year. And the initial issue was that it was there was no real identity on Starknet because, as you know, there is account abstraction, and while account abstraction is great, it also means that there is not always one user behind one address. You can have one address owned by many users, or the other way. And that's not very nice when you're a developer and you want to build things. Yes. The point is, for example, when we wanted to verify on chain that someone had a specific Twitter or Discord account, we had to redo it again and again. And we thought maybe we could do it in a way so that everyone could start building on it. And this is why we created a kind of passport. This is the Starknet identity. Anyone can create a Starknet identity. It's free, and it allows you to store any data that you want. You can write your username, your social media. You could even bridge your ENS from Ethereum. This is not possible right now, the bridging, but this is something we plan to do. And the idea is that anyone can build on it. So you can do whatever you want. Because there is there are two kind of data on your identity. There are the user data. So this is what you write directly on your Starknet ID. So that could be, for example, what is related to your username, but you could say, I don't know, my favorite color is blue, and you will write on your Starknet ID, favorite color, blue. Uh, because this is an information that comes from you, you are the only one who knows what is your favorite color, it makes sense to write it by yourself. But there are some other data that you might not want to write by yourself. For example, the social media, because I could write that I own the Twitter account Elon Musk, even though it is not true, right? And this is why we introduced other way to write. Basically, any contract can have his own storage on your Starknet ID. It's a kind of namespace. So, for example, for the social media that you can use on Starknet ID, the application, what we do is that we allow you to prove to a smart contract that you own a Twitter account. And this smart contract is called the verifier, and it is going to say, okay, trust me, this guy has this Twitter account. And it is going to write it on your Starknet ID so that you have to verify your Twitter only once, and then any other contract on chain can get access to this information. Um, but uh, this is just one feature, right? Twitter. In fact, you can write any kind of data. And basically, the domain system is an example of something that could be written on your Starknet ID. It is just a contract writing, okay, the name is this value on your Starknet ID, but you can really imagine whatever you want. And if you do so, if you build something on top of Starknet ID, well, you get access to all the Starknet ID users. So that's more than 500,000, which is a lot. And if we like what you did, what you built, we'll be very happy to share it with the community. So you will instantly get access to many users. Uh, yes, there is a bounty. If you if you if you win, we are so Edward. I forgot to to write it. Can you tell me what you can win?
Yes, of course. I will also share the Date Guy bounty. But yeah, so what you can win is I think you have like $1,900 issued by Ubuntu, and I think this is divided in two. So the first bounty is a product that is built on Starknet ID, so using Starknet ID, and so this is there is like 900 issue for that, and another 900 who is issued for build a project that could be a special add-on for the Starknet ID domain owners. So like bringing value to you to your
Yeah.
community.
Okay.
And I
Well,
can, yeah.
so
And here
then
is the link.
let's see what kind of things could go into these categories. So for the first category, something that is built directly on top of the ID, this is just adding new features to the passport. So just building on top of the passport. That could be, for example, an information from the L1. Let's say you want to prove that you own your EverAI, or you want to, so let's say you have an EverAI on Ethereum. You know this NFT. Many people have this NFT in the second community as their avatar, the kind of robot. Not sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Everyone knows Everai here on Starknet.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, many people use and love these avatars, but they're from Ethereum. They're not from Starknet. And what could be very cool is to have a way to prove, okay, I own this EverAI on L1, and I want to prove on L2 that I own it, and I want to write it on my Starknet ID. And you could create a verifier contract which just does that. And we could then integrate it into the Starknet ID profile and display it in a nice way. That could be pretty cool. You could also compute an investor score or whatever. You could really create any kind of data, or even create a social network like Lens. So that is for the Starknet ID part. But about the naming part, if you want to do something that is directly related to the domain names that are written on top of the Starknet ID, well, you could create anything that is exclusive to the Track users in order to leverage the system. So the messaging system, the first point, it is something that I think could be pretty cool, especially if you find a way to use existing technologies and to allow user to easily communicate with an account of Starknet using its .stark name, because it's not really user friendly to enter an address if you want to send a message, right? And you cannot even really send a message to an address on Starknet. So I think it could be pretty useful, especially on games. Like can imagine on rooms if you want to send messages to your friend or even your enemies to declare war or something. It could be a mini game, or that could be DeFi services, art projects, whatever. Okay. Um, do you have a question about Starknet ID? We'd be happy to answer them before switching to the technical part.
Yeah, is there any question in the chat? Yeah, yeah. I think yeah. Someone asking for dev documentation, but um, like you can find all the resources for this on the link above on the category of Starknet ID, and maybe Thomas can also send it or like present it here in the live. I'm
Yeah, sure.
sure. I'm sure
I
as well.
can share the diaporama if you want. And at the end, for the technical part, I will give you some repositories to download and the documentation. I will have some QR code so you can just scan them and get the information.
Awesome. So I think yeah, we can move to the technical part now.
Let's go. This is these are some of the functions you can find on the Starknet ID contract, so the passport. And I think they are the ones that are going to be the most useful to you. There are some derivations, so some variations that pretty much do the same thing. But if you get how this one works, you should be ready to go. Set user data. This is if it can only be called by the owner of a Starknet ID. And this is if you want the user to write an information that he knows. So you don't want to perform an additional check on top of it, right? You just want your user to, you just think, okay, the user knows this information. He has no incentive to lie, so we can trust him. Then you can just, in your website, call the set user data function with the Starknet ID. This is just a field, not a uint. Okay. The field is just the kind of namespace where you want to write the data. So, for example, if you wanted to write avatar, you want the user to be able to set his avatar. You could use as a field as a field. You could use the felt avatar or anything that you want, but I think avatar would make sense. And in data, this is a simple felt. So that could be the avatar URL. If you want to store something that is a bit heavier than just a felt, there is a variation which allows you to store an array. And this is the most important variation. For the verifier data, it is pretty much the same thing, but it is not called by the user. It is called by any contract. So this is the one you want to use if you are trying to build something that has an additional check, right? If you want to create your own contract saying, okay, I verified that on L1, this user owns this Everarray NFT, for example, it makes a lot of sense to create your own verifier contract. Okay, and then you will have the same function, but instead of set, get, with pretty much the same field, and they will allow accept data, of course, and they will return you the data. So if you wrote this data on the field avatar on top of the Starknet ID, let's say 300, you can call get user data, Starknet ID 300, field avatar, and this will return you the avatar URL. Does that make sense? You can still ask a question if something is not clear. But I think everything is good. So let's go to the next slide. The .start naming contract. Here, the idea is to translate a domain, which is pretty much a text, into an address. To do this, you want to call domain to address, with domain being an array, because your domain, you can have a root domain, which is a domain like thomas.struct, or you can have a subdomain like thomas.vip.struct. If this is a subdomain, you can have an array with many elements. So, for example, for thomas.vip.struct, you will have domain length 2, and the domain you will pass first Thomas and then VIP, right? And this should return you the address that I've set. Domain to expiry, well, the name is pretty explicit, but is going to tell you when the domain will expire. Address to domain, this is the other way. You give an address and it will return you the domain. So that is especially useful on a website if you want to display to the user, or if you have a scoreboard, for example, and you want to display the best players that have a Starknet account in a user-friendly way, you really want to use this function. But the one on top, domain to address, it can be used in many different ways. Currently, the most used way is when you want to send some money to the Stark user, while you call domain to address to get the address, and then you send some money to this address. But with account abstraction, you can imagine more interesting stuff, like being able, I'm just giving ideas, to send money directly to the Stark on-chain. So nothing to trust, nothing to resolve off-chain, everything will be done on-chain. So if you have questions about this, we could discuss this. We could discuss it later. And finally, domain to token ID. This is the one that you want to call if you want to convert a domain to its owner, the Starknet ID, which controls the domain. Okay, the passport, basically. Does that still make sense? I will consider that it does. So let's get started for the hands-on. This is the documentation. By the way, tell me if this is big enough. If you want, maybe I can zoom or just send you the URL. This is the documentation to know more about how to use Starknet ID. And this is a Cairo 1 template, Cairo 1.1 actually, so you can deploy it on testnet, which allows you to just get started with the Starknet ID API. Now, this is perfect if you want to start building on top of Starknet ID, or even if you already started something, I think you probably did, you can just clone it and look at it at the same way that you are writing on your main contract to just see how to do it, what dependency to add, etc. And if that's good, I think we can start working together. So if you have questions or if you have ideas, I can help you to implement them. Or Edward, if you want to download the template and start building something, we'd be very happy to help you.
Yeah, yeah, can do that. Maybe can you share the link
Yeah,
either in
absolutely.
my Telegram chat or here in the
Oh,
chat?
we'll do. I'm going to send them in the chat. Okay, thanks, 0x Ephraim. This is well, I'm not logged in.
Oh yeah. Oh, you can send it to me directly in my Telegram chat.
Can I send it on the here?
Oh yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Maybe you need to add HTTPS before.
Oh yeah. Either way, I can do it this way. Okay, here we are. Here we are. Okay, template. Nice. Yeah, and the doc. But the doc, I'll make sure as well to add that template in the TakeI platform up,
Okay.
so everyone can retrieve that. Up. Yeah, I think. Okay, nice. Nice, excellent. Maybe as a chat, I will ask the chat if do you want to go through the template and go through the repo, or you prefer to go through it on your own and then ask questions. I'm sure like Thomas will stay available for you guys even after the workshop. Yeah, I know there's like a little bit of delay before between us and the chat.
Oh,
Like I think it's like about like 2-3 seconds
okay.
when I did the testing.
Well, I think 2 to 3 seconds it's okay.
But yeah, and also like as far as I remember, I think you started as well this project in a hackathon, right?
Exactly. Yes, in a Matchbox Hackathon
Exactly.
about a year ago, actually. So it was a nice summer, but hopefully this one will be better and we'll see a
Yeah.
ton of projects. Could be awesome.
Someone asking if you're
Yeah.
going to run the code base here in the workshops.
Well, if you want, I can show you the code, but it's not very interesting, right? It is just calling the Starknet ID contract uh, to translate the domain that I hard coded and that kind of stuff. So I can show you the code, but if you just go to the repo, you will see the same. But if you have an example in mind or something that you want to do, just don't hesitate to ask, and I will be happy to help you, or even to share my screen and to do it for you.
Yeah, or maybe you can, I know, share as well something that with Starkfighter, with the game, something like a small thing that how you port, how you leverage Target ID to, for example, like connect to the game. I don't know, just shooting that out, like
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that
Well,
you already done, and that might inspire as well people to
mm,
build a game and or to build something else, and to
yeah,
connect and leverage Target ID.
yeah. So the idea with Starfighter was that we had something like a month before Cairo 1 was ready to use, and we did not want to write Cairo 0 code. So we thought, okay, we need to do something that could be useful, could be fun for the Starknet community, which does not require Cairo code. Oops. So we decided to build a game, just a website game that you could, it was written in Rust, where you would control a little spaceship. And if you had a really good score, if you played very well, you could get something, you could earn something. So there were many prizes, and it was very nice to be able to use the Starknet ID, just to not have addresses that you would not understand, and instead having just names that are user friendly. Um, yeah,
Yeah, so Thomas can be contacted. This is his Telegram handle, so
you
feel
can
free.
contact me on Discord.
Yeah, or in Discord. Maybe you can send
Oh
that
yeah,
as well. Discord. Some and here is Discord. So yeah, feel free to contact him if you have questions, if you have ideas as well, if you have issue with integration. Uh, but yeah, I think that there's like many stuff as well. Like again, you can accumulate bounties. That's also what's interesting here about like the hackathon is like you can accumulate bounties. It's nice as well for bounty hunters and hackathon hunters. I know that your co-founder Frika Ben was in love with hunting hackathon back in the
yeah,
days.
we did this together.
Exactly, and that's why like when I told about the that hackathon and I told him, okay, you can do like one little bounty, like people can leverage multiple bounties. So, okay,
Yeah,
let's participate into the
yeah,
hackathon.
he was the mastermind. I remember he said, "Okay, guys, let's win this hackathon." So it was in Lisbon last year, and he said, "Okay, we can do this subject for the Starknet hackathon, but you know what? There is another hackathon organized. I think it was East Lisbon at the same time." And he said, "Okay, if we do this, maybe we can try to get our project in a category at East Lisbon." So we did, and we won both
Yeah,
with a single project.
nice, nice. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, guys, if anyone has no question, I think we're going to wrap up. It was really interesting and a good onboarding to people to just introduce what Starknet ID is, and also thanks for sharing the repo and the template, how you can integrate and you can leverage the Starknet ID on your project. So yeah, I think we can wrap up this workshop. Thanks a lot,
Right.
Thomas,
Thank you,
and thanks a lot everyone. Oh, is
see you
Starknet
and good luck.
ID? Yeah, Starknet. Oh, someone asking, is Starknet ID free?
Yeah, yes, pretty much. You can create any identity for free. You can mint as many as you want. You won't have to pay anything but the Starknet fees. Um, if you want to get a domain, um, if you want to get a root domain, you need to pay. But if you have one domain, you don't need to have a domain to use a Starknet ID passport, right? This is just if you want your name. But if you have one domain, you can create as many subdomains as you want, and it is free for every subdomain. So, for example, if you have a Bravos account, you can. I'm not sure you can still do it, but there was a campaign which allowed you to get .bravos.start just for free. So, if you have a friend who has a .start, you can just ask him to give you a subdomain if you want, and you
Nice.
can create subdomain of subdomain. So.
Okay.
The external method, it is just for root domains. So the root domain which you need to pay, it is going to expire one day, and it is just going to tell you when it is going to expire. But if you have a subdomain, I think X-Query is going to return you 0 or -1, something like this. But yeah, I think it's 0. So it is just going to tell you that it will never expire.
Yeah. And even the root domain is not really expensive. uh, so even if you need to pay a bit, uh, it's not really expensive. I hope many of you already has is a domain in the chat. But yeah, nice. And you also, maybe I don't know if it's hidden information, like the mint, so the NFT marketplace disappeared. It's not like here on Starknet. I know like many projects as well thinking about building its own marketplace. Is Starknet ID as well thinking, and new team as well thinking about building a marketplace?
No, no, we are not. I saw a message from Luis
Yeah,
Rubusman in Stars, and
you.
no, actually, he probably thought of someone else or something, but we don't plan to build one. When Mean Square announced they would close, we thought, okay, maybe we could try to help them to keep running. If it is a problem of not enough developers or something like this, we could help them. But no, they just want to focus on something else, and just said, okay, the code of the contract is open source. But I know that many other projects started. I think Ardent and Snapshot.
Yeah,
Well, so good luck to them.
yeah, of course. Okay, thanks a lot, Thomas, and uh, goodbye everyone, and see you later today for the second workshop of the day. Thanks a
Cool.
lot.
See you.
Good luck, everyone.